Guys, what is up? Welcome back to another episode. Yes, I'm back. It's been a little bit of a break that I've taken. That's the second one this year. And so I definitely have some catching up to do. Today is the 22nd of December. We're just a couple of days away from Christmas and finished my Christmas shopping yesterday. Braved the crowds in Dundrum Town Centre here in Dublin. And in fact, just quick shout out to Cahill, nice chap, who came up to me with his brother and complimented the podcast. And he's from Mayo, who was up for the day to do a bit of shopping. And he had a question about the March 2026 changes coming down the line and what kind of impact it would have on the market. And so I'll briefly cover that today. But I plan to make a full video outlining everything, all the changes, all of the updates, everything like that. I'm going to be doing that over on my main YouTube channel, Gavin J. Gallagher. And you'll find a link below if you're wondering where that can be found. But before I get into all of that stuff, I want to give you guys a couple of quick updates. First of all, where have I been? And if you listened to my previous talk, my previous podcast episode, the last one, 268, I think it was, you will have heard that my personal assistant, Mia, she died very surprisingly. Nobody kind of saw that coming. And she got sick, and I understand she went into hospital on Wednesday, and on Friday she was declared dead. So very tragic, same age as myself, almost certainly to the month. And she had some teenage girls, and she had worked with me for over 20 years. So very, very sad time. And that funeral, I went along to the funeral, and I saw her photograph up on the up by the altar, and it had a big impact on me. And so I didn't really feel very much like putting out content for the last couple of weeks. Like, really, when something like that happens, sometimes it can kind of alter your view. And I just didn't feel the joy in it, right, for a couple of weeks. So decided to take a break. And I have to say, it is a strange feeling taking a break after 5 years of weekly uploads and over 250 episodes without a break. And then suddenly to take a break was kind of unusual. So it has been a strange year in general. Normally, I upload every single week, and so we would have, at this time of the year, we would be on episode like 51 or something like that of the in terms of the number of uploads. And today is the 36th episode that I've uploaded this year, so way off. And off by, how much is that? Kind of like 18 episodes or something like that. So I've missed quite a bit this year, and I've been thinking a lot about it. And I've been thinking about the format that I deliver these podcasts on, and I've been thinking, is there a way that I can improve it? How can I make it more helpful to you guys? How can I turn it into a must-listen show? Well, maybe for some of you it is, and certainly the guys that come up to me and compliment the podcast and stuff, I feel really grateful when I get that. But I see I compare my podcast with the likes of, Diary of a CEO that's hit 14 million subscribers now. And I mean, it's incredible the success that Stephen Bartlett has had. And I see other podcasts that do well and stuff. And I wonder, is there something missing from this show? What would you guys like to hear more? What would make it an even more engaging and more compelling listen? So if you're thinking about this right now, you probably have a bit of time off over Christmas, and you're kind of wondering what would be of interest to listen to. Have a think about, what do you love about this show? Let me know in a DM or an email or something like that. What do you love about the show? What do you not care for in the show? And could you'd be happy to see a little bit less of? What kind of questions do you have that you would love to hear me answer? And what topics should we cover? As you know, the way I kind of look at this podcast is I think of it as real estate, investing, sort of mindset, and performance and things like that. And but there might be other areas that you guys would like me to cover. So let me know. And also, I have a couple of guests that are saved up and ready to be played in the next couple of weeks. Let me know if there's anyone you think you've heard on another podcast and you would love to hear me interviewing them on this podcast. So those are just a few questions that would maybe help me improve the podcast. And if you are enjoying this and you'd like to kind of continue enjoying it, I'd love to hear from you, just to kind of have an idea. How can I tweak it, make it better? Anyway, something that you'll probably all appreciate is an update on the changes to the rental rules and regulations that were being introduced and that will come into effect in March of 2026. And it was announced by the government a couple of months ago without a great deal of detail. I think they hadn't fully worked out or ironed out all the kind of the bits that they needed to fix and the questions that people had and stuff like that. And so it came out kind of half-baked. And because it came out half-baked, a lot of people just got spooked. And huge numbers of people have actually served notice of eviction on their tenants with the full plan of selling the property and just getting out of the market. And there has been some metrics released by the RTB. And in the quarter since the announcement, there have been over, I think it's 5,500 landlords have left the market. And I know that I was looking at the sales data from an estate agent here in Dublin called Owen Riley. I've had Owen on the podcast in the past. And Owen released data saying that of all of the sales that they made in the last quarter, he said that 92% of the purchases were by owner-occupiers, people looking for a home. Only 8% were being purchased by landlords, which will give you an idea that there's a very small number of investors buying in the market at the moment. It's mostly people buying to own. And then if you look in the opposite direction, the amount of properties that Own was selling, when you analyze who are the sellers, something like 70% of all the sellers were actually landlords selling up and getting out, and only 30% or thereabouts were actually owners of homes that were selling and getting out. So the data is in, and it looks pretty clear that there is an exodus from the market of landlords, and the government are trying to fix that. And so they came out with some clarifications in order to try to just stem the flow and to try to kind of reduce the exodus. And so the announcement in most recently was that there is going to be what people seem to think is that this 6-year guaranteed tenancy that's coming into effect on the 1st of March. There's a lot of people that think that this will apply to people that are already living in your house. And so let's say you have somebody that signed a 1-year lease, moved into the house this month, and on the 1st of March, they would kind of inherit this new rule. That's not the case. Okay, so you can sign a lease today, a 12-month lease, and when that lease passes the 1st of March, that person is still on the exact same terms and conditions as they were the day they signed the lease, before that law was in effect. So what it means is that you do not have this problem on your hands on the 1st of March. You only have to deal with it in the event that after the 1st of March next year, the tenant that you have on the existing terms that you're happy with suddenly comes to you and says, listen, I'm getting out. I'm going to, I found a property. I'm going to put a deposit down and buy it. And so I'm going to give you my notice. If a tenant does that and the property comes back to you vacant, that's when you have to make a decision. And your decision is, do I want to put the property now on the market for sale as a vacant home, or do I want to rent it to another tenant? And if I rent it to a tenant, I must accept that 6 years starts, the clock starts there. That person, that new lease that you sign, will have the 6-year guarantee. Now, some clarifications as well. If the person who moves in and starts paying you rent on a 6-year lease, if they stop paying you rent, if they become difficult, if they, let's say they move in and they say that they're a single person and then they move in 10 other blokes that, to share the house with them or something, those are all breaches of the contract, and those are grounds to actually terminate the lease. So that's still there. You can still terminate a lease if somebody breaches the terms of the contract. Where there's a problem is if you decide unilaterally that you just want to end this lease and you want to kick this person out just because you've decided you want to sell the property or something like that. That's where you run into difficulty. You cannot do that from the 1st of March next year unless the person has given you grounds for doing that. And so that's where it changes slightly. Now, it's not all doom and gloom, I have to say. I mean, if you think about it, I lived in a property and the lady that was renting it to me, I paid her for 7 years. I just kept on paying her rent. It's nice to actually have the consistency of a good person, good tenant in there paying you the rent every single month, and there's no issues, no hassle, no grief. It's only when you have a difficult tenant, that's when it becomes more problematic. But I would sort of say to somebody, property is a long-term investment. And so if you're getting into property, then having a 6-year guaranteed lease doesn't really affect you that much. I mean, you're going to be buying the property and you're going to be looking for the tenant to pay down the mortgage over a period of time. As long as the metrics stack up at the outset, and as long as you've got enough income coming in from the rent that you can cover your mortgage, well then 6 years of payments is a good thing. You don't have vacancies to worry about, and you don't have, every time a tenant moves out, usually you have to freshen up the house. And so it's like getting the carpets cleaned, getting a cleaner in maybe to kind of like give the place a blitz. And you might go and get the place repainted, new mattresses, whatever it might be. All of that stuff obviously doesn't apply when you have a new tenancy that has begun. Now, going back on some of the negatives that are causing people to decide to exodus the market, the RPZs being extended to the entire country, that definitely did not help. There was a number of towns and villages around the country, along with the bigger cities, obviously, that were inside of the RPZ, and those have now been extended to every single place in the country. And a number of people would kind of say, too much regulation. I just not of interest to me anymore. I'm out. And so those are some of the things to think about. And I think the clarification is good. I think it's necessary now. And you can kind of see, it doesn't sound dreadfully unreasonable that you have a person living in the place, you can keep them there today, you don't need to vacate them, and then when the time comes, you can decide what to do. If after the 1st of March, the tenant that you have renting your property leaves of their own volition, just decides like, I'm going to move somewhere else, you actually have the benefit of being able to reset your property rent to the market rent. So that means an increase. And if you're a person that's stuck getting 1,500 where everyone else is getting $2,000, then that's obviously a big benefit to you as well. So I hope that's helpful. I do think that it's important to kind of just bear these things in mind, not to be so reactive that you're going to be in a situation where, oh my God, the rules have changed, I got to get out of the market. And this big rush to be able to exit and be able to get your tenant out before the 1st of March, they've taken the pressure off that. And so I would hope that a couple of people will actually kind of think and say, oh wait, hold on, I don't really need to overreact like this. Anyway, as I said, I'm going to be making a full video detailing everything, and you'll be finding that on my main YouTube channel. Now, a couple of final updates, and it's a really busy time. This is the busiest time of the year for me usually, and for a couple of reasons. First of all, the property market. Everyone wants to get stuff done before the end of the year. But second of all, huge numbers of people are looking at 2026 and they're thinking about the new year ahead. They're thinking about what would they like to achieve next year. And this is the time of the year when a lot of people decide that they're going to join a coaching program or something like that. So quite a lot of interest in the programs. And I have, rather than making these podcasts, when I said I was taking a break, I have been actually thinking a lot. I've been poring over all of the programs and the courses and stuff that I have, and I have been coming up with improvements and tweaks, and I'm going to be launching a brand new property course, and it's going to be aimed at people who want to get into property. So it's aimed at the beginner end of the market. I currently have a product called Foundations, and it's going to be Foundations 2.0. That Foundations program, when I release it, I'm actually going to be doing it live for a number of weeks. And so if you join that Foundations program, you're actually going to have direct one-to-one with me on building out that program. And so I think it should be a benefit. I'm going to put some information either down below or it'll follow in soon enough. I'm also extending my mastermind. So I've had a very, very active weekly mastermind with people that join, and I'll be honest, pretty much everybody, with a few exceptions, but pretty much everybody is buying in the Irish market. And there are some people inside of my group that are actively buying in the UK market. Now, the UK market is in a difficult kind of place at the moment, and so it could be deemed a good time to be buying. And so there are a number of the members inside the group that are actually starting to look over there. And so I thought it would be useful to create a UK chapter of the Property Mastermind. So now there will be 2 calls, and there will be an Irish mastermind and there'll be a UK mastermind. And so it should be interesting for those of you who are interested in that UK market. It's not going to be just me in there talking about the UK. I actually have a guy that's been investing and developing and building in the UK for many years. And so he's going to be in that mastermind, and he's going to be kind of leading some of the discussions. So you'll actually have somebody on the ground that can actually help with any questions you have. I'm also going to be doing a monthly training webinar stroke workshop for investors. Now, I did my first one last month, and we had something like 140 people sign up for it. It was completely for free, and I probably will continue to do it for free, just as a kind of a way of A, giving back, but B, giving you a little taste of what my programs are like, so you can have a better idea if I was to join. This is maybe a little bit like what you'd be getting. And then finally, my accelerator. So I've been building out a lot of new programs and a whole new, what I call the mastery ladder. And the idea is that when people join any of my coaching and stuff like that, they start at level 1. So they're at the beginning stage. And then as you go through the different programs I have, you move to level 2, to level 3. Well, I only really had level 1 and 2 before. Now I've got level 3 and level 4. And then I have a level 5 that is very high level for people that are looking at, building funds and things like that. So people at a very senior level would be level 5. And so there is a full, I suppose, journey that you can take all the way from beginner to expert that would be full-time professional investor raising large sums of money from investors and things like that. We have a full A to Z now to get there. And so that has taken quite a bit of time to think up, but I think it'll be useful for you guys. And so I'll keep it short and end there, guys. I hope you keep an eye out for some of those updates on email, perhaps. And all that remains now is for me to wish you guys a very Merry Christmas. And I hope you have a great one. And we will see each other very soon. I'll do another one of these probably in the next couple of days after Christmas and towards the new year. So, guys, wishing you a happy Christmas. Take care and see you in the next one.